Hello and welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this is a book that was selected by Oprah for her book club. But it's a book that I knew I wanted to read way before she got involved because I've read books from this author and this was his first fiction. So of course I wanted to see how his beautiful writing transfer to fiction writing. So one of the things that prompted me to pick it up earlier was a few questions that Oprah had on her book club page on her Instagram, and I thought, let me get into this. But it's definitely a book I wanted to spend a whole month on because it is a historic fiction that has slave narrative. So this is a story about a young man who almost drowned, and in the midst of that, there's this power that took over. So it has some magical realism in this story, and it drawn him to the desire to want to flee, to want to leave, to go on this underground world that he didn't know much of. It was just something he needed to be a part of. In this world, it had a share of the price of freedom, where everything is not as it seemed, and he went through a lot to get to that freedom, but that freedom wasn't enough for him because he wanted to save two women in his life, and he was willing to go back in order to save them. So this is the gist of the story. Now, I started reading this and I struggled. I absolutely struggled because the emotion from the main character, I think it was Harem, if I'm pronouncing it right, it didn't do anything for me. If he was upset, even when he was tortured, I kind of just never felt anything. It was just, I was literally reading the pages and not getting anything drawn to it. It was just like I was shut off. I don't know if it was because of the storyline that I just shut myself off or what, but it took a while for me to realize it's the main character. He just did not do anything for me. This story really was carried by the women. There were three women in this story that really, to me, made the story what it is. There's one particular who was a part of the underground, and then you have a woman that raised him, who took the place of being a mother, and then a woman that I'm not even sure if he even loved. I still not sure he even loved or he wanted to love this particular character, but she was my favorite. And that particular character had moments in this book that made me like jump up a little, like made me realize, wow, okay, that's really good. Oh my God, I get that. And it explains so much, especially when I read chapter 19 and I had to side-eye the main character. I just was like, what? It made me feel a certain way. But then when we got to chapter 25, where I understood that whole idea of being responsible for something you didn't create. It's if you've read that chapter, you understand what I'm saying. And then it was when I got to chapter 31, I felt like Ta-Nehisi Coates knew that I was probably going to be one of those readers that is going to have an issue with the story, because that particular chapter gave me everything that I needed to really appreciate the story. I literally had moments where I'm freaking screaming at the book. I had moments where I'm like, yes, oh my God, that made sense. And made me feel better about why I had issues with certain parts of this book. That particular chapter to me spoke volume of how this main character emotion just like strike me as a bit annoyed, and why, and didn't make any sense, and why was I struggling to not get him. And that chapter just did it for me. And that main character, the woman, this woman was just, to me, the juice in the story, the meat that was needed in this story to make it what it is. And then also towards the end, it was just I just loved it. I love the idea of what it means to remove yourself from the hurt, and the suppressing memories. And I think that had a lot to do with his personality, why it felt so dry to me. And it was just not because there were suppressed memories that influenced this man to where I felt his emotion was so disconnected, why I was struggling personally to really get into his thought process in a book, where I'm like, okay, I believe you. I wanted to believe him, and I struggle, and the end kind of sums up why it was so hard for me to believe this main character, because of the idea of removing yourself. When you remove yourself and suppress memories, especially memories of horrible memories, it can change your personality and somewhat change how you react and how you respond to things that happen to you. And it just made sense. It was just like full circle of realization that, wow, oh my God, this is a character. So with that said, this is a book that I feel can be dissected in so many ways. And it's a book that, like, there are some people who are going to be completely, swept up in the whole storyline from the get-go. And it's people like me that it took reading the entire book, invested in this entire book, to really appreciate the story. And that's where I'm at with this. And there's some people who probably not going to get it. And that's okay too, because, it is a book that is heavy, and it's not a book some people want to stay long in, because I don't think I would ever want to read this for an entire month. I just know I would never want to be in this world, because it's so heavy. There's so much things that's happening in this world that's so heavy that I just can't see myself doing that. With that said, I think you should pick it up. I think you should take what you can from it and realize that this man can write, and this story was a really good story. And there are some influence of actual real document, because at the end it tells you that it was inspired by some real documents. And so I'm yes for this. It's definitely not a 5-star read for me. At first it was like a 3.5, but it's closer, more of a 4. And for right now, I feel like it's a 4. Definitely not higher than that for me, but highly recommend it. I do think it's a good read, and I would love to know what is your response. If you've read it, how did you feel about it? The good, the bad. It's a book that should be discussed, and I do think Oprah selected a good book, because there's a lot of discussion you can get out of this. So yeah, so I'm gonna end this video now, and thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day. Bye.